what an amazing experience that was, right?
Oh, it's amazing, man. Those foster kids, man, they enrich you more than you can give them. It's a wonderful time, man. And my heart's kind of broken right now because we're supposed to be doing that in about a couple weeks. But given COVID, we can't really do it. But man, what a blessed thing to do. And Javen's story is incredible on how that started. And we added a day every single year. It's just been like a cool team, and you've been part of the team. And Terrell and all those guys, man, my heart goes out. I miss you guys. I love being there. It's my favorite time of year too, man. Those kids are wonderful, and I love that entire cause back there. So great.
Well, you know, and the biggest thing I think that I got out of you, because you've been a coach, you're a specialist when it comes to coaching, because you're training athletes that are getting ready for combine, that are getting ready for the pros. You're also training the athletes that are getting ready for the Olympics, and you've been part of that. How many Olympics have you been part of?
Well, I have athletes that take part in them, not me personally or anything like that, but
correct.
You know, they've been taking part, and then you know, it just depends on how you look at it. It's probably only been about 3, so total. But you know, mainly I've been getting a lot of swimmers. That's been the new thing. You know, it's funny. It's you know, the science behind it all. It's all pretty much relatively the same as a biomechanics, and we're human first, and the athlete comes first. But it's funny because, you know, you get associated with swimming, all of a sudden all the swimmers come in. And you get associated with something else and all the other, you know how it works. But, yeah, but it's enjoyable. I've been very blessed. And watching, I have one girl who's at the University of Alabama now, and I've had her since she was 11. And just watching who they become. You know, they were a shy person and now full of confidence. And, you know, now she's an All-American. And it's just cool to see the growth and who they become as a person, their character, how they hold themselves up, how they see things. Her perspective is the Olympics and world records now. It's like, but she wasn't even thinking about that years and years ago. So, you know, you never know the influence you have and the impact you have. And, you know, and watching them, they start to change you as a coach 24/7.
Absolutely.
Which is the biggest blessing of all by far.
Well, I think as a coach, as a personal trainer and as a life coach, my biggest reward is when you see them actually realize their potential and realize their purpose. And so for me, that's where it changes me, because I was like, okay, this is why I started doing this. This is why I did this with you. So for you, you're taking these athletes to the top of their profession. So that has to be very, very, it has to feel amazing that to see them in the Olympics, which is they're representing your country, they're representing us. And you get to be a part of that through your academy and through you as well. And you know, that was the biggest thing. That's how I met you. It's like, oh, you're this Olympic coach. I'm like, okay. But you were such a great friend, man. You've been part of my birthday parties when you come down here. And then I got to see you with the kids. And I think that's when really, I really felt like, man, this is just a genuine guy. You know, and you were so awesome with those kids, because we have to have patience. Now, you have to think about, these are 5-year-olds all the way to high school. Some of them are foster kids. Some of them don't have parents. Some of them come from abusive homes. And for us to come in for the first time, they're seeing us the first day, it's like we really have to earn their trust, man. To watch you. I recorded you. Remember how many times I started recording you? Because it was so good to watch these kids, especially the little ones, start skipping and start stretching, you know, little things like that, but then they get it. And then after that, we give them a little bit of hope. We share a little bit of our lives with them. I share my testimony, you share yours. And that was, I mean, to me, that is what made it really rewarding for me to just hang out with you guys, because we were changing lives. And some of those kids, we found out they had a lot of talent, and we ended up getting them scholarships and all these things. So it was awesome.
There's some really incredible stories out of that, you know, just them being there and exposing them to the sports they didn't know they were so talented at. I mean, you had some genetic freaks walking in the room and you realized it. But man, there's one kid in particular, I think he ended up at a private school and scholarship, and it was wonderful.
Absolutely.
Being able to have our resources and be able to help them and guide them, and really cool stories that come out of that, man. And by the way, as you say, man, you have to have thick skin and you just keep going. But by like day 2, day 3, I mean, they're full of hugs and love, and it's man, it's a wonderful thing. But you can tell that absentee in their life is holding them strong, and it's guarded. You just have to break through it a little bit, and God just starts piercing right through right away.
Yeah, and I have to commend Javen, like you were saying earlier, our friend, our brother in Christ, because Terrell, who also an NFL player, Butch Roll, NFL player, Brandon. So I'm like, I hear, I'm training, fitness people and bodybuilders, but these guys have been to the pro levels. These guys are training pros. So I kind of felt like I wasn't the man there, but it was just such a great brotherhood where we were able to touch these kids' lives, girls and boys, in a way where they were able to trust us with their truth, and that's what broke it through. But Brandon, what is this time? Because now you have your academy. What is this time with the COVID-19, with everything going on? They canceled the Olympics. They canceled. I mean, this is one of the conversations I wanted to have with you, because now you got the NBA, you got the Major League Baseball, hockey. Everything is coming back. But is it really coming back? And this is why I wanted. You're the perfect person, Brandon, to ask this question. People don't understand that right now let's say we start in 2 weeks. Are these athletes going to be the same?
No, not even close. I mean, I can tell you stories right now, 2 girls in particular that were ready to go. Olympic trials cut out, and one swimming very, very fast right now, and she's just heartbroken. And then we got to remember, here in Cali, you're not allowed to do anything, and especially in LA, and they couldn't hit the pools. They couldn't go into them, and we don't need to get into all that. But the problem is that in Europe, they're already back in action, full on. So these kids their lives are dependent upon this. Basically, their whole focus is that. And when you see it getting robbed from them, when their whole life went for that focus, I feel for them. But it's about changing the perspective again. So we just had to change the lenses and go right back to work and clock back in. And at the same time, they're going to find their way. They're going to get stronger than ever. I know 2 of them went back to the universities now. They can't swim still. They can't train there right now. And it's tough. Like I just talked to them. I said, "Are you going to end up coming back so you can just train right now?" They're like, "Yeah." We have football players. We don't know if they're going to play football. Especially the younger ones. These are high schoolers. I feel for the seniors. Baseball got screwed when you're in high school. All of a sudden, you didn't get to play your senior year. There's a lot of things. But man, I'll say it like this: as much as I hurt for them, I think God's doing something wonderful here, and in the midst of it all, we've idolized a lot of things. We idolize the pulpit. We idolize, sports. Obviously, I have the same problem. Sometimes our world and our life is that I love sports, and and we have to take a perspective and a time to sit back, reflect for a second, and just be grateful for every moment we have. And I've seen such blessings and light in all of this. I got to see some of my athletes I may never see again. Because once they get to a certain level and they're stuck somewhere, there's a tunnel that goes for their path.
Right.
And once they're in that, it's hard to get them back. I have to go visit, say hi. They start getting to different coaches and people, based on the area or where they're mandated. That's why professional is real tough. Like you don't get to stay with your athletes all the time. You'll stay in communication or even college. So I see them when they come home. But I was fortunate enough, selfishly, to be able to see them. They all got to come home. But I hurt for them. I do. It's sad. But we're gonna bounce back. We're gonna get back in action, and we're gonna dominate again, and like we do. And it'll be awesome, man.
Well, and you said it perfectly. I get these videos from friends of mine in Italy and Spain, and the water is clearing up. There's animals and fish, and there's a lot of things that we're not really paying attention to right now that I think we're going to pay attention after we get to our next season, and we start looking at the world and how the world has been healing, the ozone layer, and all these other things have been healing. But also, I think that we're going to not take for granted our lives anymore. When you look at 2 million people being diagnosed, you look at over 100,000 people dying, I think that people are now somehow, with me and cancer, if you don't go through cancer, you don't really pay attention to it. If you don't go through an injury, like you've gone through injuries, if you don't go through an injury, you can't teach somebody or motivate somebody that's going through an injury. So I think that now when you're looking at the world, maybe you didn't get COVID, but you know somebody that did. And I think that now you're going to look at life a little bit different. And so I'm echoing your thoughts, man, my friend. And and I'm looking at the NBA and the football and all these things. And I think it's going to kind of give people a little bit more excitement again. I also believe that we're going to look forward to being in an auditorium. We're going to be looking forward to being in a stadium again.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait to go to a movie theater right now. So the things,
see the grateful spirit we have. We want it back, but we're going to be like, yes, when it comes back. Absolutely.
the things that we've been pushing away because of, we can go watch Netflix, we can watch all these things at home. I'm excited to just get out of the house and go to a stadium, go look at people. So I'm hoping that season comes not next year, but hopefully even this year.
Right.
Now, real quick, when it comes to athletes, man, because a lot of kids are out there, it's like, they're getting ready to watch them. But one thing about you, because you're a real coach when it comes to this, getting people ready for seasons. These players have been out for 3 months. How hard is it going to be for them to get their skills back? Or their conditioning. Conditioning, I think, is the most important thing.
The conditioning is a big factor. You're bringing up something big. But obviously, like neurotransmitters and muscle memory, some of that's in the bank. They put so much investment in. So you can see guys who have put a lot of time in, they can dial it back pretty quick. The conditioning stuff, then that's another factor. You gotta earn it back. And just balancing that. I use a phrase like meet yourself exactly where you're at. So a lot of our athletes, the same thing. We're just meeting each other where they're at. But man, I can tell you, just like we were just talking about, when they walk in the room, because we just opened again finally, thank God.
Amen.
And we're privately, but we're still open. And that was a tough toll. But when they walk in this room, they're so grateful to be back in here. And it's a new spirit of joy and excitement, and I'm seeing a new hunger. I mean, all day to day, I was like impressed by how hard everybody was working, and I'm like, man, okay, sometimes we need a reflection, sometimes we need a break, sometimes we need to pause. Really cool strength coach said one time, rest equals efficiency. So there's got to be great efficiency coming from this.
Yeah, for some of them, they probably took it seriously. They worked out, and they're going to come back, and they're probably going to look even better for the playoffs. So who knows what's going to happen, right? And Brandon, what is one thing I think that you go by to your athletes? Because I want to talk to you a little bit about your production company. But tell me a little bit about your athletes right now. What is something that you could tell your athletes that inspires them, not just to listen to you, because they know they can get all the referrals in the world to see what you've done and accomplished. But when it comes to a spiritual realm, and when it comes to something that you can tell them that is meaningful, what is one thing you can tell them?
We keep it simple. So we do the small things ridiculously well. And once we hold that down, we know be better. You always be better every day. So when they come in here, they know they came in and they left better than they were when they came in. Every day, that's the focus. Whether that's a mental or physical thing, you never know, depending on the day. But sometimes, I'm not the biggest vocaler because I have so much. It's all about being efficient at a time. But I'll just ask and feel them for the day, and that day's got to be the determinant for the next day. So we have to figure out how we're going to dial that, how we're going to change it, how we're going to shift the perspective, the mindset, the culture for the day, what's going to happen, and we adjust to each other. But the biggest thing is how do we get the very, very best out of this given day? Because now the next day is the day I'm earning because of this day being so successful.
Amen. That's awesome. And why I was laughing is because that's what you preach to those little kids. You were telling them, you got to stretch. You got to stretch. You got to stretch. Then you got to stretch some more. Then you got to do this. Then you got to do this. And I'm laughing because, man, we've had so many blessing experience doing those coaching camps. And now let's switch gears.
It's like 7 years now, right? I mean, that was 7 years ago we started that?
It's at least 6. It's at least 6 that I know of.
This would have been 7, I think.
I think last year I missed it. I think it landed on my birthday or something like that. And I was out of town, I believe. But let's switch gears a little bit, because then here's Brandon Clark, the TV producer. And some people, and I know you have put.
People don't know how to take all this.
I know. Yeah, but it's okay. It's a 2-part interview. It's okay. Be very good. So the second part of this is because you come.
You know me well.
You come from a long line of this, but then you really, man, your passion has been training and training and training. But I always said to you, man, when you're passionate about one thing or multiple things, you will eventually go back to it because it's part of purpose. So you're back into TV production. You've been back into.
This will be the first time I talk about it publicly here a little bit.
And
I was doing it for a while, and
yes,
to be honest with you, it's all about character. And it's really tough to be in the entertainment industry and uphold solid, Christian values to all that you're doing, and at a young age. I just had this talk with my lawyer actually this morning about my entertainment lawyer, and it was a great conversation because we were both relating to each other in that aspect. I don't think I was ready for it, to be honest with you. I was making mistakes, responsibility-wise, to all kinds of things where I let it get ahead of me. And then you got to meet yourself where you're at again. And God was just using a pruning time for a long period of time. And I realized, I'm like, okay, it's all on you. I was still, tithing towards media, towards things like that, because I felt in my heart that that's still the call. There's been 3 prophecies. I know this is going to happen. And sure enough, out of the middle of nowhere, God just gave me a surprise, and he said, make this phone call. So I did, and then I make another one, and then you know how that happens, and that happens. But I wanted nothing in return, and it just kind of one thing went to the next, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, you're not getting anything for this? I'm like, no, it's all good. And now we're doing some great stuff with a new president of NBC Universal Faith, Family, Virtues Department, Inspiration, and it's been really, really cool and exciting. I can't really name a lot of our projects, but you're going to get to know them, and it's going to happen soon, and it's a huge blessing.
Amen.
It's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger in such a fast time. And man, and again, back to perspective, I started off with something small, and you do the small thing, and all of a sudden it turned into a really, really big thing, and then now multiple big things. And then you're like, whoa, how did that happen so fast? Correct. Like I just went like that.
Amen.
It's a blessing. It's fulfilling a great call and purpose. This is another love, and now I feel like that's going to position us to do things that we were never affording to do for this. So, and that's to come. But I have a great joy and love for this, that I think we're going to be able to finance things that we're never able to finance before because of it.
Amen.
Which is awesome.
Well, and I'm gonna just ditto that, because echo that, because what you're talking about is basically my life. Like I come out of cancer and I started looking at what does God want me to do. I walked away from the gym business, and I've been, you see me, being consistent about my message, and then coaching women and going into empowering women, and all these things are little by little growing, but there's a time of preparation, and then there's the fulfillment that's going to come later on, the blessing that comes after it. But what I always tell people is you got to be prepared, and you got to be consistent. And it's just like training. Everything that you're doing right now is the same as going back to physical training and personal training or coaching. Is those same attributes that take place. Now, I always remember a conversation I had with you in South Beach when we were celebrating my birthday, and we were talking about it, and we were kind of having an open discussion. And I remember telling you, I said, I'm working on my documentary, and I still haven't finished it. And you said something to me, and you said, David, when your documentary comes out, I believe it's going to open the doors that you've been working towards. It's going to be like a domino effect. And I don't remember if you remember that, but it was like, for me, I got emotional just even saying that, because it was that one thing I needed to hear it from somebody that wasn't close to me, like a Javen or like Ron or these other people that were in my life. You were somebody I just befriended, but then you came out of nowhere and you said, David, don't worry, it's coming. But when it comes, you're going to have all these other things you've been working on that are going to be able to be launched. And I just got emotional again. That's why. So I just wanted to say that,
No, it's the truth. And David, you're a wonderful man, and your story and testimony is great. I'm grateful to know you, but I'll say the people in our lives are in direct proportion to where we're supposed to be. So obviously, God ordains those things and puts us in the right place at the right time, and beautiful of putting us perspective or aspect of just putting the right people delicately around us to support us and lift us up in the way that we never expected when we least expected, which is so wonderful.
Amen. And one thing about you is the same thing like me. Like, we're always looking to be a blessing in someone's life. And I say that all the time to people. So be a miracle in someone's life.
We're blessed to bless others. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing to know you, and I haven't seen you in a minute. And I'm sorry, man. I love you, miss you. So it's kind of cool. This is the first time I get to see you in a minute. Yeah, no, you're
in the top of my list of people that were coaches and influencers from the physical point of view, but also from the media point of view. So I didn't even know that you were back doing TV media until we finally connected again. But
that's something I've been talking about. It's just
I knew that. I knew you would be back there, and I always pray. I said, how is Brandon's relationship with me going to be fulfilled at some point? And I know God will answer that at some point. But so to finish the show, I always ask my guests one word, because we're living in a time where we know that there's people right now that their whole lives have been turned upside down. We know that they are losing hope to the degree of suicide thoughts, to the degree of anger, to the degree of they don't know if they're going to be able to eat tomorrow. Some people get to the point that they can't even get out of bed today. So for me is, what is one word? Just, I know we have a lot because we could talk forever, but what is one word that you yourself, through your life, through your struggles, through your spiritual journey, that is something that gave you hope, it gives you this drive every day that wakes you up and you're like, this is it, and I'm going after it. You know, what is one word, Brandon, that you can share with us, and then define it for us, give us the meaning for our guests, for our audience to not just learn from you, but maybe, man, that word gets them out of bed tomorrow morning.
Man, I would have to say strive.
Strive.
Strive for life, strive for the moment, strive in everything you can do. Walk with that swagger, even though not everybody doesn't know what's behind it, but that's okay, because it's lifting you up as you go. But yeah, strive in everything. You know, what greater example can we be than the greatest of all, the great I am, and to be the greatest we can possibly be as ourselves to represent the great I am.
Amen.
So, you know, I just say strive, man, strive, continue, no matter what, no matter what's going on, you just strive, you just go, take the next step, again and again and again and again, because you and I both know we've been through our own hardships. We take a lot of risk, and you know, it's worth it though every single time. It
is. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. Stay right there, don't leave. But you know, as I conclude this program, you know, I first I want to thank Brandon for his time. He's actually at the facility right now. You can see everything behind him. But let me, you know, besides thanking him, I want to thank you for your word of strive, and I also want to thank you for what you do, because you're impacting young lives, brother. Not a lot of people can say that. You're actually doing that on a daily basis. And, you know, for me, when I listen to Strive and I listen to his message, how he defined it of the great I am, which to me is God, you know, my life verse is, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I think of striving, I could not strive without knowing that God was giving me the strength. Some of you right now don't know where to find your strength. And I hope that today this message will just, you know, somehow touch you and somehow lift you, because God does exist. Like he said, the great I am, we're here to make him proud. I live every day to tell my story because I made a promise that I would. And because of that, I feel God healed me for me to do what I do today. So don't forget what Brandon said. Continue to strive. Continue to believe that the season will be over and the next season will be a blessing. I hope that this message gave you hope today. And I want to thank again Brandon and everything he does for so many people, because here's the thing. When you impact young people, you impact the next century. Amen. You'll get that one on your way home, I promise you. Well, listen, like I always say, find hope, have faith, and live every day with purpose. And because of Brandon, I'll add that fourth one. Today, don't forget, be a miracle in someone's life. God bless you guys.